Okay, what's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. Welcome back to Hanging with Mangg. Today, we're just playing a little Red Dead Redemption 2. Because I watched True Grit last night and got me in the mood for some rootin' tootin' cowboys shooting. Yeah, that's that. Not really been playing much. I have been playing a little bit. It's a rare time for me where I actually am pretty busy. With preparing to move and working a lot. I haven't had that much time to actually play video games. But I did get a Remnant from the Ashes, I think it's called. The brand new sort of Souls-like game. But with guns. Souls, but with guns. It's a little janky. It's a very dreary game. And instead of having like
sins I'm carrying around, you won't even believe.
Interesting level design and unique enemies and stuff. It's all sort of the same stuff and just lots of enemies. I'm really not that far. I've killed a couple bosses. And I think the gunplay itself, like, it handles pretty good.
I'll be seeing him soon enough.
It's certainly no Dark Souls, but I guess I'd put it on the same level as like the Surge. Just sort of an interesting alternative.
South of Strawberry. Indians penned in there like cattle.
So I could have played that instead today for Hanging with Mangg. But I'm still not sure about streaming in ultra wide. I mean, theoretically, there shouldn't be a problem, but I'd like to sort that out before. I guess maybe I should have done it just to help sort it out before tomorrow, when I want to stream the WoW Classic LAN party.
That's what you did.
So
Sticks around.
Yeah, that's the big deal this week. I know it doesn't interest everybody, but WoW Classic is releasing tomorrow, 5 o'clock my time, which is a good time. That's a nice day. It's not like, 1 a.m. or something. I'm getting together, this whole big LAN party. There's going to be 5 of us. I've got chips and soda and balls, and we're going to have pizza delivered. It's going to be a gay old time. Now they're saying that queue times could be like 2 to 3 hours or something like that, which is crazy. So, I am planning on streaming the LAN party, but if it ends up being none of us get in the game for like 2 hours, we're just gonna be playing like a board game until until we get in. So I don't know if I'll actually stream that. So I worked ahead on the exploring series. I worked ahead on some videos so that I could take some time off, partly for WoW Classic and partly because I'm moving. I was always planning on taking time off for moving. I was originally not planning on taking any time off for WoW Classic. I was just like, oh, I'll just grin and bear it and just do some work during the week. But I decided, I'm gonna be a madman. We're just gonna lump it all together, see how it goes. So, in the last 2 days, I edited together three different exploring series videos, which is more than I generally like to do. One of those 3 videos is a Lord Blackwood video, so I actually didn't have to write anything for that, which is good. One of those was my normal video that I'm releasing tomorrow. And then the other one, was it an involved video, 20 some minutes long, and I just crammed and spent a bunch of my free time working on it. So, should be all good. So I'm not touching anything relating to the exploring series for a little while.
Not a smart move to travel alone in these parts, especially looking like you.
Looking like me? How about looking like you?
Threatening me, you pissant.
Stupid bastard's got a problem with authority.
What the fuck? He didn't even pull his gun?
You piece of shit!
I could drop you a hand behind my back.
There you go.
I was told.
Messing with my hat. I don't even know if this was my hat. Anyways. So it's good. It's good. It was a lot of work. I was really stressed out the last few days. Just either writing stuff, editing stuff, finding all these pictures and recording audio and much more than I normally like to do. But that's fine, because we're all good now. I can just relax, play some WoW Classic, and move. So, speaking of the exploring series then, tomorrow we have a video on SCP-342, A Ticket to Ride, which is an old school SCP, one that I remember reading way back in the day, and I remember being fond of it. It's just a good solid one. It's not like pattern screamers or anything metaphysical or craziness. It's not giant monsters or aliens threatening the world, or it's just good old school SCP horror. The video that I worked ahead on for next week is on anti-memetics, which is much different. It's very metaphysical, very strange, trippy, new age horror, I suppose. But also pretty cool. And then the final Lord Blackwood video that I'll be doing for now, where he goes up into space. That's pretty fun. So those are all ready to go. I had also released a Warcraft lore video this week. Another very stressful video. It was stressful for making it, and actually compiling all this info and stuff and learning all these new things I didn't know about. All that stuff. And then it was stressful for the release because I didn't know if I had actually done a good job or not. That's always the worry. I didn't know how much I had gotten wrong. I didn't know if I'd left out too much. I didn't know if it was coherent enough. I didn't know if it was entertaining enough. This is always my thoughts whenever I do a big summary video like that. As it seems to be, I did a pretty decent job. A lot of people were happy with it. A few people said it was the best WoW introduction video they'd seen, which warms the cockles of my heart. And, you know, I certainly wasn't expecting it to just blow up in, like, views or anything like that. That really rarely happens, especially when you suddenly switch gears on a topic from the norm of your channel. So it didn't blow up in views. It's done decently well, about as decently well as I could have hoped for just my normal audience. And it's possible in the near future YouTube will kick the algorithm into gear, and it'll find some new audience members. We'll see. Either way, it was something I wanted to do. It's part of my collection of videos now. And I learned some stuff about Warcraft lore. So that's nice. Yeah, so that's the exploring. I mean, the exploring series, the channel is doing really well. Like this last week overall, the aquatic SCPs video has been doing exceptionally well. I don't even have my phone on me, otherwise I would tell you more details. Like today, so far, we're up over 1,400 new subscribers, which is not the norm, obviously. So Aquatic SCPs has been doing really well. I think SCP-3000, again, has been doing well. Even, like, my Dragon's Mythology video has been doing well.
Can I?
Sorry.
Sure. They're supposed to be my business partners here. They arranged a meeting, I believe, about some horses.
A fellow with a scar and a Mexican
Yes, sir.
out by the stables.
Thank you.
Where was it?
Have a wonderful day now.
Yesterday I got over 1,000 subscribers. This whole week it's been at least 600-700 per day. And that's the thing, it's like, I mean, the Aquatic SCPs video is a fairly new one. That's a pretty new video, but like the Dragons video, that was from a while ago. SCP-3000, that was from like January or something. I mean, these are some old videos that are just like, oh yeah, YouTube is just like throwing them out there, and I get to reap the benefits. That's just how it. You never know. You never know. That's why I just keep putting out solid videos. Views will come.
And have you met my partner, Arthur Morgan? No.
I met your son, the sheriff.
Okay. Mr. Gray here was saying how he had problems with a family of degenerates.
Oh, well, nobody likes degenerates.
Hag and her inbred sons. They ruined this county. They killed my uncle.
This is pretty quiet. I can just talk over this. That's fine.
Got
I'm not doing a let's play. It doesn't matter.
gold, Yankee.
And that's really, I mean,
Yankee friend.
there is an element of luck, I think, involved in YouTubing and being on Twitch and things like that. There's, of course, an element of luck.
Mongrels.
Both in
All you gotta do is look at them.
How much gold?
both in how YouTube operates, how Twitch operates, whether or not you're found. And also, I think just like luck in life, to be honest.
Easy.
Where do we sell
It's
5,000
not fair, I guess.
Over there, we'll run them out of state. And people
But I just think about this exploring series stuff and my success on YouTube now. And I just think how much of it is just luck of how I was
I
born.
mean,
My sense is we keep all horse wrestling.
I mean, for one, I was born in America speaking English. That's already a pretty big boon on the internet. Sad to say, but that's how it is. Two, I was born into a family that could afford like computers and internet and a decent education. That's pretty big. Three, I was born with a mind that's pretty decent at writing and researching, I guess.
You should see the Braithwaite
And then
woman.
on top of all that, you have all that, but I could have been born with like a really annoying, like nasally, whiny voice. Well, I mean, some people probably say I do, but
Better keep their heads down.
I mean, you could have been born with a really shit voice, and the rest of the stuff is like, well, you're not gonna be too big on YouTube.
$5,000 for horses. We've been robbing.
I mean, you know, there's options for everybody. I'm just saying, specifically on the internet, it all just seems so much luck.
If we get even a third of that, it'll be worth it.
So how we gonna play this?
The place is well guarded, so there ain't no point in blasting it
But
in there.
at the same time, it's not 100% luck. There is work involved,
Spend 5,000 on horses.
and
Should go in the back way though. Avoid too many questions.
I really didn't want to start this quest. I just wandered too close to the start of the quest. A big part of being successful is commitment. You know, like my brother and his wife started a YouTube channel a while back, and they wanted to you know, they wanted to be successful on YouTube like many of other people. And
There's a guard.
they made a handful of videos, and then they just sort of petered off and stopped. And it's just like, well,
Gentlemen,
Yeah, we're here to
I mean, probably, you know, they got discouraged because they didn't blow up immediately.
Yeah, we had an appointment.
And it's like that's just how it is.
Braithwaite, I believe.
yeah, I never heard.
You have to just keep pumping out videos, whether it be every day or every week or every month
Down here.
or even,
But perhaps we should look.
you know, if it's just a handful of times throughout a year, as long as the videos are good,
Up to the stables.
success will likely follow.
Someone will come see ya.
And a lot of people just wonder, why are my videos not getting seen? I'm putting out these great videos. Why is YouTube screwing me? And don't get me wrong, YouTube can screw you. Especially if you're making something further on the fringes of like political neutrality. But I think a lot of times people just overestimate how good their videos are. Not that I mean, I usually shit on my videos, so I take that with a grain of salt.
That's it. Nice and easy. No need to rush. We don't want to draw any unnecessary attention.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I attribute a lot to luck, and then the rest is just me being consistent. Whether that's consistently good or not, I guess that's up to the viewers. But that's why I try to be so rigid with like a schedule. You know, every Sunday night, 2 a.m., boom, there needs to be a video there. There has to be. And I follow the same principle with Let's Plays. Maybe not as much like good quality, but like it would really be shit if I were to miss a day of uploading a video.
Alright, let's hitch up here.
Like, I'd be surprised if anyone remembers the last time I missed a day for a Let's Play video. It's got to have been a while.
Let me do the talking.
Anyways, I'm just rambling. We have other stuff to talk about. So, speaking of Let's Plays, this week on this channel we had more Bloodstained and Gibbous.
Hello there.
Can I help you, boys?
I hope so.
There is one more Bloodstained video to release, the final video.
I don't get you, friend.
Yeah, you.
So that'll be going up tomorrow
Why
night.
don't you get out of here? You Scarface.
And then Tuesday, I'm going to start up
We ain't officials.
Control. Unless the reviews come out and it's so god-awful that no one should play it, then I probably won't.
These here are the studs available for purchase or for working. That's what you're
But
interested in.
most likely I will.
We represent
I can't promise it'll be the lengthiest video. I'm sure I want to get back to WoW, but
This here's Cerberus.
Greaser, huh?
Okay, bandana's on. Don't need nobody recognize.
Alright, I'll grab the white one in the middle, you get the other two.
that's the plan. Gibbous, I don't know. I'm not done recording
Relax, boy.
that Let's Play,
Come on.
Good boy.
Whoa,
so I can't say when that will end. When it does end,
Marston, you're gonna tether him up to Javier's horse.
I plan on doing
Javier,
Telling
lead the
Lies,
stallions.
which is the new game, I believe, from the guy that made Her Story, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Whoa, now, easy. Easy there, easy. Easy there. Whoa, now, easy.
So that should be good. That should be good. I think Logan Marshall Green is in it, if I saw it correctly. So that's the current plan. September and November are both filled with just a crazy amount of games. Like there's like 6 games I want to Let's Play in September and like 4 or something in November. Dude, this horse never let me lead it. Took too long. I don't remember specifics in September
This here's Cerberus.
of what I wanted to play, but I know there's a bunch of games. I know there's a bunch of games. I don't know. I'm gonna have to pick and choose which ones I'm Let's Playing.
Okay, bandana's on. Don't need nobody recognizing us.
Which ones I'm waiting on, and which ones I'm
I'll grab the
just
white
playing on
one
my
in the
own.
middle, you get the other two.
But like, you know, Doom Eternal. Of course I'm gonna Let's Play that.
Relax, boy.
I did a whole series on Doom. Of course I'm gonna Let's Play that. But it comes out like a week after Jedi Fallen Order or whatever.
Tether him up to Javier's horse.
Okay.
Javier, you're gonna lead the stallions.
And it's like, well, I kind of wanted to do a Let's Play of that, assuming it's a good game.
Marston, you ride point. I'll cover up the back.
'Cause that could be
Any
fun.
problems, regroup at Clemens Cove.
But yeah, it's gonna be crowded. It's gonna be crowded. This is when we get into the exciting shit.
Quick!
Go, get out of here.
What the hell you doing? Stop! Stop! We're being robbed! I said stop these men! Stop!
Oh, get wrecked, son. Ha ha.
Look out ahead! They're coming out of the fields!
I guess that's all. That's all I need to say about Let's Plays for now. So, yeah, just probably starting up control this week. Unless it's really shit. Let's move on to roll Mangg. The last time on roll Mangg, we headed to Japan. Shit.
What are you doing, Arthur? Let's stay together.
We headed to Japan with the plan of stealing a giant mech from a highly secured facility
All right, let's get these horses to
from the biggest corporation in Japan.
run into any more trouble.
And I had figured this was a 4-phase plan.
Shit! One of the stallions is loose. Keep going. I'll get him.
And phase 1, the Manchurian Candidate, I think had gone pretty well to start.
Come here. Hey.
We had successfully kidnapped a couple university students, and we had driven them back to our top secret house in the mountains, and we had everything ready to brainwash them for the next year so that we could send them into the facility and they could
Come on. Let's get this over with.
they could tell us everything we needed to know about stealing this mech.
That could have gone smoother.
That'll be
So this session started off with us at the house ready to begin the brainwashing process. And Ziggy wanted to know quite a bit about the specifics of how we're spending the next year, including like a whole daily schedule for the brainwashing.
There you go.
So I guess I can skip past all that, and we had begun
Heard you pay good price.
the brainwashing process, and we eventually did a year time skip
Sure, Pop.
where the kids just, you know, underwent this conditioning, and we just sort of lived in the mountain in Japan.
John, Arthur.
And life
Javier.
was good.
So what are you? Cuban?
No,
A
Don't
year
like Cuban.
goes by,
that's so.
Maybe.
and it was time for their final test to see if they had been completely brainwashed to the degree that I was happy with.
Funny. Ain't he funny?
So I took an unloaded pistol.
We're twins, but I was born first.
I went downstairs.
Black, but he's okay.
I went to each one
Sure.
individually.
Yeah.
I handed them the pistol and told them to shoot themselves in the head.
Ain't yours, but I like you.
One of them complied and one of them did not.
650 for
So we have one that's ready to go and one that needs a bit more time in the oven,
$1,000 for him.
which is fine because I was only planning on letting one of them
it. Only it ain't true. Not
carry
one
out the mission
But-
right away anyways. So it wasn't that big of a
Got
deal.
more than 700 on me. You want it? Or you want
So it's like,
to take
okay.
fellers into town and maybe someone
We can lead towards the end of phase 1 now by letting this kid back into the world.
All right.
And, you know, I had gone over this last hanging with Mangg, that we were just going to basically let this kid escape. Or it was going to seem, he was going to tell the world that he escaped. I mean, we're releasing him. He's working for us. But he's going to tell the world that he escaped.
Believed a yarn spun us by one of that Gray family. And imagined we was gonna be wonderfully rich. At the end of it, we felt like prize idiots.
Now, that went off pretty well, I think. I mean, he went back into society.
I
and everything went pretty much as I said. Before we released him, though, I told the others that at this point, we all need to leave this house. They were not entirely happy with this.
You okay, boy?
They couldn't understand why. And I was just like, we just have to leave because we don't know if something will lead the police back to the house or not. A policeman had stopped by the house during the year. Like a couple months after they went missing. He stopped by the house. You know, he's poking all around, looking for these kids. And we had our fake Japanese guy, our fall guy, talk to the policeman with me like whispering in his ear so he knew what to say. And we sent him packing.
Yo, hey, mister. Remember me? Come on.
By basically saying, like,
How you doing?
you know, I value my privacy. My wife died, and I just live up here with my dogs.
American ginseng. Take a feller from not too bad to hardy as buck in no time.
And he passed some roll, and the policeman was like, okay, their kids are probably not here.
Dose this in your medicine. Give it some zip. Believe me.
And so at that point, I figured,
Anyway, I ain't gonna use all of this, so feel free to help yourself to whatever's left. You take care now.
the only reason that police would come nosing by this house again is if one of them somehow discovered some new information after we released this kid. I don't know what that information would be, but planning is not specifically about... I mean, in a perfect world, I would plan for every single contingency. I would know every detail about what we're doing. But, you know, part of the problem is you're not dealing with real life. You're dealing with a DM. And not everything is hyper realistic that you can think of and monitor. You know, you're doing time scale, who knows what. It's just you can't plan for every detail. But you can plan a response to worst case scenarios. So it doesn't really matter us trying to prevent them from uncovering something that leads them back to the house, but we can plan for an eventuality of them leading back to the house. That's what I tried to convey to them. They're like, what could possibly lead them back to the... what could lead them back to the house? And I'm just like, I don't know. I can't tell you that answer. You know, they could have some Sherlock Holmes cop working for their police department. I don't know. But we just need to plan that they find the house. So my plan was that we all go our separate ways and we sort of disseminate around to some rural villages, and we just sort of, you know, we're just like expatriates and just hanging out in Japan, trying to just live outside and live a normal life and blah, blah, blah. You know, because if we all congregate in one place, that's far more suspicious than just one white guy showing up in some rural town. A couple of them did not buy this. Notably Thomas. He did not buy that this was a better plan. He couldn't think of a reason why the police would ever find the house in the mountains. And he was like, you know, why would us being out in the, you know, in some rural village, why would that be any better? And it's like, well, they don't know anything connecting us to the rural village, but they have this kid that's connected to this house in the mountain.
Get your own camp. Somewhere far from here. Get lost. Just minding my own business. I said go. You don't like visitors, huh?
Draw on him! Dude, you're so slow. I guess it was a rifle.
Whoa, whoa, easy.
Oh my god, that was pretty horrible. Look at this blood trail. Look at the blood. That was cold-blooded murder. What was I talking about? Right. It was just probabilities. You know, that's really all it is. It's probabilities. I thought it was more likely they would find the house than they would find any of us in these rural villages. That's it. And yeah, I mean, ideally, even perhaps, probably, I mean, certainly in the real world, it would be unlikely they would find the house. But it's just, you know, years of experience with a DM. I mean, things go wrong by design. He really did not want to go, though, and I'm just like, I'm tempted to just let you stay here at this house just so I can say I told you so later. And then they decided that, okay, if one person's going to stay, it should be Phil, because he's been doing all the brainwashing. And they still have this other kid that needs to be brainwashed. And it's true that that was a bit of a wrench in the engine, that this kid was not fully brainwashed. We couldn't fully trust him yet. And taking him into rural Japan, it's possible that someone would recognize him. Very unlikely. He disappeared from the major city a year ago. It's unlikely any of the rice farmers out there will give a shit. Or even, you know, realize. But I was ready to take that chance. But they decided that if one person's going to stay, it should be Phil, so he can keep brainwashing this kid. And I was just like, okay, I mean, I really strongly advise against it, but if you insist. So the rest of us went our separate ways. Phil stayed behind with the brainwashing kid and the fall guy and all their dogs. They had decided to raise a bunch of, like, German shepherds. I don't know why. For, like, money or combat purposes. I'm not exactly sure why. But they raised a bunch of German shepherds. And ultimately, that was their downfall. That was Phil's downfall, because Ziggy didn't tell us right away. He actually wasn't planning on telling us what happened. But it had been such a topic of conversation. The police found the house again. They came back to the house with more officers. And they had a warrant this time, and they were going to search the whole premises. Phil knew that if they searched the premise, if they searched the house, he was dead meat. There was no chance. So he, like, gathered up all the dogs inside the house or something. He gave them, like, a kill command if anyone entered the house, or, you know, something like that. And he left the fall guy to die, basically. And he and the brainwashed kid slipped out the back.
Yep.
And tried to just run away towards the nearest port town. You know, where they have all sorts of security cameras and blah, blah, blah. Great. So there's, like, sounds of gunshots and growling and biting and stuff and, you know, all that. So I told Thomas, I'm like, all your dogs are dead. This is what I tried to avoid. You know, the original plan was each one of us was going to take a couple dogs with us. spread out. But since someone was staying at the house, they were just like, oh, well, keep all the dogs there. I'm like, okay, they're all gonna die. Phil and this kid sprint across the Japanese countryside. And they begin, like, being followed by a drone. And Phil, he, like, throws his katana at the drone or something and shoots at it. And by this point, he knows he's fucked. He, like, gives a gun to the kid. He tells him to run off, and then Phil, like, runs into the town and, like, distracts the police, and then he dies in a shootout. He dies. He dies. And at the end, I mean, I got to say I told you so, but it didn't feel great. It's just like it's picking on, like, some dumb kid. And that's what it felt like. And why wouldn't you just listen to me? I told you exactly what was going to happen. And it's not like I knew that this was going to happen. But it's always better to be safe than sorry. It's just, why would you do this? Why? I think he wanted to die. That's what I think. So Thomas, I think, sort of blamed me for this happening. I mean, he didn't say this. It just seemed that way. That perhaps because I had made such a big deal and I had talked so much about this, about how they would somehow find the house and blah, 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 and there'd be all these cops and a warrant, you know, all this stuff. Because I had gone on about the possibility of this, Ziggy had been like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to do that. I think he sort of probably blamed me. So after the session, Ziggy announced, he wasn't planning on doing it, but because we had talked about it so much, he announced that the reason that they had found the house was because they had found hairs of a German Shepherd on the kid's clothing because he had been taken into police custody after he was found. You know, the one that we had released originally, the first kid. He had been taken into police custody, and they had, like, taken his clothes and, you know, give him a physical and all that stuff. And they had found German Shepherd hairs on it. And because that was such a unique thing in Japan,
Please talk. Or give me the damn key. It's a stage company lockbox. Mister!
because that was such a unique thing in Japan, they the cop that had visited our house originally remembered our German Shepherds that we had there.
I don't hardly
He had
know
seen them.
what to say. Thanks, I guess. You done me a service. Hey, look. The stage company's gonna write this off as a robbery anyway. If you can get in that lockbox, you can take what you want from it. It ain't stealing if it's already stolen.
Got that right.
So he had remembered the German Shepherds, and he put two and two together, and had gotten the warrant to come back to the house. So ultimately, the thing that that doomed Phil were the German Shepherds. And I had talked with Ziggy afterwards, and I had told him that I thought Thomas believed me responsible because I talked about it so much, but he was always planning on something happening. You know, there being one more problem before this resolved. And that's why I said I knew that's how he operates. There always has to be wrenches in the engine, even if you potentially think of everything. That's just how RPGs are. Maybe it shouldn't be. Maybe other DMs are different. That's how he is.
You're a good boy.
So if we had all evacuated the house and gone our separate ways, he would have had something happen in one of the rural villages. you know, somebody in the town recognized the kid or whatever. You know, something would have happened. I just think it would have been more manageable. The police would not have been immediately involved. There probably would have been less cameras, blah, blah. It would just be easier than police showing up at the house with a warrant. That's, you know, I was just playing probabilities and things like that. And I tried to warn them, but they weren't having it. So anyways, the kid enters back into society. And I had told him that while he was doing like interviews with the news, you know, television and blah, blah, blah. He was doing interviews about this miraculous escape from captivity. You know, he's a minor celebrity in Japan for a couple weeks. He's doing interviews. He should mention how it's always been his dream to work for the mech division of the Kobayashi Corporation. That's always been his dream. And so, sure enough, he was, as I predicted, offered a job with the Kobayashi Corp, but not in the mech division, in the aeronautics division. And if he works there for a few years, he could get promoted into the mech division. I wasn't really happy with this, but he told me over the phone that if he takes this job, he will potentially be able to find out some info about the mechs at the Corp. Even, you know, if he's not working in that division, he can sneak some info. And I was like, okay, that's fine. If we have to wait 3 years for him to get promoted, that's not great, but we'll make do. That was close. I didn't even look at that direction. Jesus. Rootin', tootin', riding and shooting.
Get going right now.
Shut up. What the? I got a gun to you, man. What was I talking about? Right. So he takes the job with the Corps. Some time passes. Not 3 years, but, you know, a few weeks or so. We find out from this kid that there is a mech being sold by the corporation to another corporation in China. Damn, that must... Oh, God. Oh, damn. Dude. I'll get to the end of this session. Don't worry. So a mech is being sold from the Corp to another Corp in China. And we're talking like $1 billion. 1 billion credits. Like, this is big money. And in like 2 weeks' time or something like that, the mech is being airlifted out of the hangar in Japan by 4 cargo helicopters. 4 cargo helicopters are lifting this thing up and transporting it across the ocean into China. That was it. That was the info provided to me by our inside guy. And so I had to decide if this was a better alternative than just waiting and stealing a mech from the Japanese hangar itself. In the end, I decided it was. And I thought it would help greatly with our escape route, and stealing it in transit means there's well, for one, the infiltration is a lot easier, and the exfiltration is easier because we're going to be in the ocean immediately with more distance between us and anyone else right off the bat. So I was like, okay, let's go ahead with this. We're going to steal a mech in midair as it's over the ocean.
There, boy.
Now, normally I don't like to redo or reuse any sort of plan. I think that's, I always view it as like a movie. You watch a series. It was like Ocean's 13 or something like that, where they mention like reusing the same plan or the same element of a plan again, and it's just like, no, you don't use the same one. You go to the next one. You go to the next trick. That's how I always like to do it. I always like to come up with new tricks. But part of the problem is we don't have a lot of money. That's a big problem. It takes money to make money, especially doing heists. It's hard to do a proper heist broke ass. So, since we don't have much money, we need to do this heist as cheap as possible and as efficiently as possible. The only way that I can figure to do that is by being on board one of those cargo helicopters as it lifts off from Japan. So we need to be on that helicopter when it leaves. The easiest way that I can think of to do that is something we've done before in the past, where we sneak on board like a day beforehand or even like 6 hours beforehand or whatever, and we hide out like underneath the floor until it's in the air, and then we hijack it. And our contact on inside the facility says that he could get us onto this helicopter. He could help us get us on. Now, originally, the plan was to hijack the helicopter, but we discussed it and we realized it was better if we did not hijack it. Instead, we just like torched through the bottom of the helicopter without them even knowing that we were even on board until it was too late. So these 4 helicopters are lifting up with cables attached to the mech. So the plan is to torch our way through the bottom of this helicopter, shimmy on over to the cables, and then climb down the cable to the mech. And then we board the mech, activate it, blow up the helicopters, and fall down into the ocean where we can then swim away. That's the plan. Now, obviously a lot can go wrong with that, and I wish it was a better plan, but really there's no cheaper plan that I can think of to steal this mech. And we've already run our budget a little ragged. So, yeah, there's a lot can go wrong, and the primary thing that I'm concerned with is actually turning on the mech. It's pretty secured. Now, the benefit here is that a lot of the security systems are going to be turned off or deactivated or not in place because it's being sold. So a lot of the connections that this mech would normally have with like the central computer at the Japanese corporation are going to be severed because the Chinese corporation obviously does not want these connections in place. Also, it's not going to be initialized with like a specific pilot. So it's basically a blank slate, which is perfect for us. So that helps a lot, but we still are going to have to... There's 2 ways to turn it on, basically. You have to normally use a key. The key is constructed of like a highly specific metallic alloy that is unique to each mech. So it's like one key in existence for this mech. And the key is not going to be transported, at least that's what I thought, at the same time as the mech. You know, the CEO of the company is going to be like carrying the key himself on a plane as part of, like, you know, finishing the transaction between these two corporations, because this is a pretty big deal. So I thought there's no way the key is going to be with the mech or on board one of the helicopters. So we're not getting the key. It's not happening. So the alternative is, of course, to hack the mech. Now, my thought was, what I pondered is Gug the best hacker in the world? And I thought the answer was no. I mean, he could be, but the fact is I have to roll. And anytime you have to roll, it can go bad. So I want someone else there. Potentially better than me. Thomas has a move, an ability that lets him hire a person or people for a job that are as competent as necessary, as competent as required. So we wanted to look for a hacker that was as competent as required to hack into this mech. That's what we found. We had to promise him like 5 million credits or something once the job was done, and we had to pay him up front like 50,000. But he's good. He's going to be real good. He could still fail, but I'm going to be there as well. So hopefully the two of us can hack this mech. If we can hack the mech and get it online, we're pretty much golden. I'm going to be very confident once we get to that point. Getting to that point is very risky, but you never know. So that's where we ended off. Preparing to... Please stop barking at my horse.
You okay, boy?
Preparing to initiate this mission. The hijacking of a mech in midair over the ocean. Probably at night, I'm sure. While raining and thundering. Because, you know, stack it all on. So we're not playing the Sprawl again for like 3 weeks from now. Because we have... Tomorrow is WoW Classic. The next Monday is Labor Day, and I'm moving and all that stuff. So the following Monday after Labor Day, we're going to get back to playing. And that will likely be at my new home, which is pretty exciting. A new locale. I don't have a hat. Damn. Here we go. There's a hat. It's not a very good hat, but it's a hat. Yeah, I guess that's that. That barking's so loud compared to everything else. Check out SCP-342 tomorrow. Check out the rest, the final video, Bloodstained, Gibbous, and most likely the start of Control. I really hope that's a good game. But that'll do us. So my name is Mangg. This has been Hanging with Mangg. I'll see you fine folks next week.